Hi, it's Milton Kane, the Christian Democratic Party candidate for the federal seat of Newcastle. It's good to see that we've had a good Australia Day. It's come and gone, and many people have celebrated it in various ways. However, there were some people who had some difficult times during that. Some in the south had fires, some in the north had floods, while we in Newcastle had followed up with rain continually over a couple of days. It is that particular aspect of rain that I wish to draw our attention to. Whilst I have great sympathy for all of the people who have lost things, houses, stock, whether it be livestock or whether it be just their own business stock, people who have got huge amounts of damage done. They've actually become refugees, as it were. They are now without a home, and they need to have emergency accommodation. And as I think about this, I think about what has actually happened. We've had a huge amount of rainfall on the country in the north, and this water is rushing down through the rivers, filling the floodplains on its way through to the ocean, which is the normal role of what happens, a normal cycle of events. The only one problem is we've done a few things that have made a few complications along the way. What we've done is we've gone along where we decided to build something. We said, oh, there's some flat land, it's nice land, easy to work on, it's easy. We can put roads here very easily, we can build houses here very simply. And up behind us we see the hill country, and we simply say, oh, it's a bit more difficult there. We've got a lot more earthworks to do to build the roads, a lot more work to build the houses because they're on the sides of the hills and up in the hill country. And so what we've done is we've built on the floodplain. Some people have built there simply because they love to be near the water. But you see, when it's not raining, being near the water is good. Being beside the river is good. It's nice to be there beside the river, watching the river flow past in a peaceful manner. But when there's heaps of rain, when these monsoons come and they dump a lot of rain, those rivers are no longer calm and inviting. They become a torrent and very uninviting. They become very dangerous. Now our problem is that we need to be able to make wise decisions. I do not believe it has been the wise decisions of governments to build our cities right on the riverbanks, even reclaiming some of the riverbank area, filling in some of the delta areas and all those sorts of things, and even concreting in drains, as we have done in Newcastle everywhere. Sure, we build up the land a little bit, but when you have millions of litres, millions of gigalitres of water coming down a river, it has to find some place to go. If it breaks the banks of the river and your house is on the floodplain, no matter how much you filled it up, it will attack the filling before it will eventually possibly inundate your home. That's a sad reality. We've got to change the way we do things. Building on floodplains is easy and simple at first, but it is not wise. One of the interesting things, and some people may scoff at it, but there's actually a passage in the Bible about people building on the sand or building on the rock. And it talks about how you're building on the sand, and essentially the floodplain is essentially sand in most cases. When it says the winds and the rain came, the house fell over. House was destroyed. But the one on the rock remained. We have not learnt from that. Now that was said by Jesus over 2,000 years ago. And isn't it strange that he's made a statement then that our building authorities don't continue to think about today? And if they had it in the first place, we would probably not have our cities on the floodplain. We would have them up on the hills. And on the floodplain, we would probably be able to use that for grazing. And so when we become aware of the storm, what we would be able to do is to remove our animals to higher ground. Essentially, the message is up in Queensland by the Premier is for the people who are living in flood-prone areas, get to higher ground. That's probably where they should have built in the first place. Now, we cannot undo what we've done, but we can make sure we don't mess it up for the future. What we need to do is to think very long and hard about where we subdivide. And after all, most of our subdivisions are on what was good fertile country. Was not that the place where we were going to produce our food? So many of our farmers have good fertile land, and an offer comes and they subdivide, and away it goes, becomes housing blocks, and we wonder where the food is coming from. Of course, we pay a higher price for it because it has to be done in a different way. Methinks we don't do so well. Methinks what we need to do is to have a big rethink. You see, I actually believe that God made the place for us to enjoy. He wants us to look after it. And if we look after the place will look after us. But if we block the rivers, that's not good. I remember in the Man from Snowy River, the words, "You cannot hold back the tides." And let's be honest, no matter how much concrete we put in place, no matter how much sandbagging we do, if the tide want to reclaim the land, it will. And I hope that we don't build any more houses on such places. I ask and I appeal to those people who make decisions about where subdivision should occur, that we make sure that we have a look at the potential area of flooding. And if there is a potential flood in that particular area, that we choose not to build. And that we look at higher ground, so we can make sure it's safe for our communities. It costs every one of us. These floods in Queensland and northern New South Wales will cost every one of us, because insurance companies will pay out money, and that will mean that we will pay higher premiums. So you may simply say, well, it's not really my concern, this is a Queensland flood. Well, let me tell you this. If you insure with an insurance company, and your insurance company insures with a reinsurer, your premiums will increase because of the payout. So it is in your best interest, it's in my best interest, that we campaign so that we stop filling in the floodplain and building on it, and that we start building on the high country so that we can be safe. Thank you. Bye.